Small Business Administration resources for dealers. I would like to talk about a federal agency that many small dealership owners and entrepreneurs such as yourself may not be aware of, and that's the Small Business Administration. The Small Business Administration can be a great resource for you, whether you are obtaining your dealer's license for the very first time or renewing your license for the 20th time. I'm fairly certain the Small Business Administration has a program that will greatly benefit your dealership. The Small Business Administration, or SBA, was founded in 1953. The sole intent to help small business owners and entrepreneurs like you to achieve the American dream of owning a business. They're an independent agency of the federal government, and their role is to aid, counsel, give legal assistance, and also protect the interests of small business concerns. And they also want to preserve free competitive enterprise and maintain and strengthen the overall economy of the United States. They are also a great resource for startup funding. If you need some help starting a dealership, or maybe you currently have a dealership that you want to expand, they have many funding programs that are available for dealerships. There are many advantages of utilizing Small Business Administration programs. And sometimes we refer to the Small Business Administration as the SBA. Okay. So, they have startup logistics. So, you will have to comply with many state and local and federal regulations with operating any dealership. So you don't want to ignore regulatory details. You may avoid some red tape in the beginning, but, lack of compliance would definitely become an obstacle as your dealership grows. Taking the time to research regulations is really important, almost as important as knowing your market. So being out of compliance could leave you unprotected legally, and it could also lead to expensive penalties and jeopardize your dealer's license. They conduct market research, and they help you conduct market research, and they allow you to view consumer and business data for your area using the Census Business Builder, and it's called the Small Business Edition. You can filter your search by business type and location to view data on your potential customers, including consumer spending in your area and a summary of existing businesses that's available as a map. So you can check out other dealerships in your area as well. Business licenses and zoning. So, the license that you're obtaining is administered by the state, but it's also important to consider local zoning requirements when you are either choosing a site for your dealership, or maybe you're wanting to expand a dealership or move your current license to another location. You definitely need to be aware that you always have to meet local zoning requirements. And the SBA can help you with that research. Name registration helps you register your name, whether you're just starting your dealership for the first time, or maybe you are expanding a second location. And we are going to cover that extensively in another part of the course. But it also has in-depth overview of taxes, because as a business owner, you definitely need to know your federal tax responsibilities and, make some business decisions to comply with certain tax requirements. So, the IRS, they've also got a Small Business and Self-Employment Tax Center, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. As the IRS continues to implement some of the newest tax laws, your tax obligations can change. So you definitely need to be aware. Once you get your dealer's license, you need to be aware of the IRS tax laws. And if you're a currently licensed dealers, obviously tax law has changed dramatically here, and it will continue to do so. So for the latest tax reform updates, you can always go to the IRS website and click on the tax reform link. The SBA also helps you with Social Security concerns. So if you have any employees, or you're going to hire employees, including officers of a corporation, then you're probably going to be making periodic payments or filing quarterly reports with the IRS, especially on payroll taxes and other mandatory deductions. So you can contact the IRS or the Social Security Administration for information. And real quick, that number for direct employee access hiring is going to be 800-772-1213. Once again, that's 800-772-1213. Or you can visit socialsecurity.gov/employer. So you definitely need to be aware. You can also file W-2s and things like that. So you definitely need to be aware of this. Even if you are currently a dealership that's getting ready to hire employees, or currently have employees and you're not filing W-2s, you definitely need to be aware of that. Okay. So real quick, the Federal Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986 obligates an employer to process those Form I-9. So there's even more information about the Form I-9 that we've talked about in another part of the course. So if you have other information that you need, you can certainly find that on the SBA website as well. They're going to talk about health and safety. Any dealership with employees are going to be required to comply with state and federal regulations regarding the protection of your employees, and you can find out more about that at dol.gov. But the Occupational Safety and Health Administration enforces federal workplace health and safety standards. And so we've got another component of the course later on that delves into OSHA and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So, anytime you have employees, you need to protect your employees and, help them in case of workplace injury. You can also find out about employee insurance to check and see if you maybe need to have unemployment insurance or workers' compensation. Okay, and you can also find out your health insurance options. You can always call the Small Business Administration's, it's called the Health Options Program, and that's 800-706-7893. And you'll find all these phone numbers on the website there. But once again, that's 800-706-7893. If you want to find out answers to your small business employees' health insurance questions. Okay, so it allows small businesses, including self-employed workers. Maybe you're a really small dealership and you're just self-employed. That will definitely help you with your insurance needs and answer all those insurance questions, especially healthcare questions. Environmental regulations. Many dealers have the responsibility of disposing environmental waste, such as oil for oil changes or tires that you're replacing, or car paint, transmission fluid, etc. And you can learn more about this process at the SBA website as well. And I always want you to be aware, state assistance is available for any small dealership that must comply with environmental regulations under the Clean Air Act. So I'll give you some resources here in just a little bit where you can contact someone locally to have your environmental questions as well. And these programs can help businesses reduce, the emissions of your dealership or something like that, and even often reduce regulatory burden and save you some money. Also, they're going to talk about accessibility and ADA compliance. So you might have to ensure that your dealership is ADA accessible. So if you have any questions about the Americans with Disabilities Act, you can call the ADA Center. That's 800-949-4232. Once again, that's 800-949-4232. Or you can even call the Department of Justice. If you have questions about accessibility, that's 800-514-0318. And that's going to be, all those phone numbers are going to be on the website there that you signed up for the course on, okay? Also, child support. Now, why would child support be important? Because employers, such as dealers, are essential to the success of child support programs. And, businesses collect about 75% of support nationwide through payroll deduction. So you're required to report, all new and rehired employees to your state directory of new hires. And this ensures if that employee that you've hired owes child support to a significant other, then you actually have to deduct that. So like I said, small businesses collect 75% of child support. So keep that in mind, and you have to report all your employees. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. And, this is called the Child Support Portal. So that's something you want to be aware of. Online learning. I'm going to show you some courses here in a little bit. There are free webinars that you can take that if you want to start your business, you want to grow your business, it helps you launch a business, helps you find funding. We're going to go in depth in that here in just a little bit. And if you want to take all these free small business webinars, they're really awesome. I mean, take a look at some of these. They're going to answer a lot of your questions. Even if you've been a licensed dealer for 20 years, they're going to be advantageous for you. Or maybe you're now just exploring possibly getting your dealer's license. You can go to sba.gov/learning. Once again, that's sba.gov/learning. And the SBA's free online learning system is a great resource for every entrepreneur. It's even great for rural dealers that are looking for access to vital business training. Okay, so some of those courses show you how to write a business plan. We're going to talk about funding and getting funding for your dealership. That might be one part of this unit you're really looking forward to. So you have to have a business plan, obviously. It shows you courses on how to understand your customers. So, marketing to your customers, marketing vehicles to your customers is going to be where the profits are in your dealership, and understanding your customer is a vital component of that. And the SBA's learning courses can help you understand your customer. They can help you buy a business. So, maybe you're getting buying an established dealership. Maybe you're currently a licensed dealer and you're going to buy another dealership. It's got training webinars on that. Talks about mergers and acquisitions. Shows you great learning programs on marketing to win customers and keep customers in the future. It's got a bunch of legal requirement webinars, financing options, disaster recovery in case you ever have a flood or a tornado or something like that that devastates your inventory. SBA has some funding. So if your area is ever declared a disaster area and you've lost some vehicle inventory or something like that, you can apply for assistance that sometimes will cover 100% of the cost. But more important than that, we're going to talk, in another part of the course, we talked about insurance. You're going to have insurance, but there can be additional resources if you do have a disaster in your area. And I'm going to show you how to find and take these free courses in just a few minutes. They're great resources for any dealer, okay? There's going to be opportunities for veterans. There's an entrepreneur training program for veterans. It's called Boots to Business, okay? And we're going to actually cover that a little bit more in depth here in just a little bit. But you can walk away with an overview of entrepreneurship and applicable business ownership fundamentals, including how to access capital as well. So we're going to talk about that as well. So we're going to talk about financing. And, also here that you're going to see right here on the screen are going to be some SBA programs that we're going to explore, okay? Including the very important business guide. And I'm going to show you all these here in just a minute. The business guide can be great assistance either when you're opening your dealership or maybe expanding a dealership. We're going to talk about the many, many funding programs the SBA has. Many dealers are in search of capital to either start your dealership or maybe you are looking to expand. We're going to talk about some of these great funding programs, many that I'm assuming that you may not even be aware of. Tons of funding programs for starting your business or expanding your business. We're going to talk about federal contracting in case you would ever, for example, like to place a bid on a government agency's request for proposal to buy several vehicles at a time. This can be a great opportunity for you, and I'm going to show you how the SBA can assist you in basically selling multiple vehicles at the same time to the federal government. The Learning Center contains some great training courses that are going to benefit any dealer. And also there's going to be some local assistance. So I'm going to show you how to find an SBA office near you. Okay, so you can jump on the website or you can walk into a local small business administration office. I'm assuming that if you don't live in the same city as one, then you live within an hour or two one away. If you have to drive to one for further assistance, you can certainly do that. Okay, so let's go right into the SBA website and explore the many of the beneficial programs that can assist you with the operation of your dealership. And you can jump right onto the SBA website. So once again, that's sba.gov. That's a pretty easy website to remember, sba.gov. It's a government website, so obviously it's going to have the gov on the end there instead of a .com or a .net or a .org. It's sba.gov. So first, you can take a look at the Plan Your Business link. There are some really great resources here, even if you already have your dealer's license, okay? So if you click on Plan Your Business, let's start with that one first, okay? You can conduct market research. Market research will tell you if there's an opportunity to turn your idea into a successful dealership. It's a way to gather information about potential customers and dealerships that already operate in your area. And you can use that information to find a competitive advantage for your dealership, okay? So that's something you want to be aware of. You can write your business plan. A business plan is the foundation of any dealership. Even if you currently have a dealership, business plan is a great roadmap on, how to structure, run, and grow your dealership. And you'll use it to convince persons that you're working with to invest in your company. So this is a smart choice, okay? And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Business plans help you run your business. A good plan guides you through each stage of starting and managing your dealership. And you're going to use your business plan as a roadmap to how to grow your dealership once you've gotten your license, or if you currently have a license, you can use it to expand. It's a way to think through the key elements of the operation of your dealership. Also, business plans can help you get funding or bring on new business partners. Investors want to feel confident they'll see a return on their investment. We're going to talk about how to find capital investors in your business here in a little bit. So if you want to talk someone into investing into your dealership or your idea for a dealership or the expansion of your dealership, it's imperative that you have a written business plan. So this is a tool that you would use person to convince in investing in your company and let them know that's a smart choice. So you have to, pick a business format program that's going to work for you. There's really no wrong or right way to write a business plan. What's important is that your business plan meets your need. Funding your dealership. many entrepreneurs need some funding when starting or expanding a dealership. Your business plan will help you figure out how much money you'll need to start your dealership or expand your dealership. And if you don't have that amount on hand, you'll need to either raise some money or borrow that capital. Okay. Fortunately, there are many ways to find the capital that you need. And we'll talk about how to obtain funding extensively here in just a few moments. Okay. Now, also, you can click on launch your business here, which has a lot of the same information that I showed you here just a moment ago. You can manage your business, and you can also click the grow your business. Okay. And we're going to jump on this here for just a second. Okay. At the moment, I'm going to show you how to take advantage of the many funding programs the SBA can help you with. But before you apply for any type of funding to start or maybe expand your dealership, you're going to need to prepare to request that funding. You're going to need to prepare to request that funding so anyone's going to feel confident that their investment will pay off, including someone that's going to be giving you a loan. So you need to prepare a business case and financial statements to convince either lenders, maybe crowdfunders, or investors to fund your dealership. You have to make your business case, and you'll need to make a solid business case for more funding. So producing a short statement with the total requested amount and specific reasons for it are going to be advantageous for you as well. Maybe your business is cyclical. Like maybe you have, you're selling more trucks in the summer than you do, or something like that. Or maybe you just need, capital to invest in new machinery, like maybe tools in your shop or something like that. Whatever the reason, you'll need to update your business plan to include this stage of funding. So you have to have a business case that gives assurance that new funds won't be mismanaged. So you'll need to include descriptions of your management team to highlight their skills and expertise. You're going to also have to prepare financial statements anytime that you're applying for loans. So you're going to have to display that your dealership is going to do very well. And if you haven't gotten a license, then you might show some previous business history. Or if you currently have a license, then you can disclose some financial history statements. So if you currently have a dealership, show that your business has grown by reporting revenue, expenses, and profit over time. If you don't have a history of positive growth, you'll just need to explain why you need funding to start your dealership, okay? You have to basically prove that you're financially responsible, with a business credit report or something like that. So keep that in mind. You want to also review your credit before you ever do this to make sure it is accurate before you ever, share a credit report or something like that. You'll need to determine how much money that your business is going to need. And, this is also the same process that you would go through if you were planning on selling your dealership. Now, I want to talk about that for just a moment. I know many entrepreneurs that have started a dealership, got some good employees in place and ended up selling the dealership, and you can, when an investor sees your dealership has, had a good employment record with good employees, I mean, that's very valuable to an investor. So that's something that you want to be aware of even later on if you might be selling your dealership at a later date. Valuation methods vary, but you can do a quick evaluation yourself, or you can even seek out a qualified business appraiser. You have to forecast your business growth, and your business forecast can be based on, your past sales and things like that. I want you to be aware, meeting with local experts, counselors, and your local SBA office can definitely be an advantage, but you'll also choose your funding source. And we're going to jump in depth on funding sources here in just a moment, all these separate different types of SBA funding sources. So you can get loans, you can get a credit account, you can get crowdfunding. You can actually have persons that want to invest in your startup, even if you've never owned a dealership before. I'm going to show you some investment resources where persons are looking for a person just like you to start a business, and they can take a partial ownership, okay? One thing about it, existing businesses do have the advantage of an established financial history with credit reports, business bank accounts, and internal financial reports. But no matter what, even if you're starting the first time, then you can certainly look for these investors. And like I said, later on, you can easily sell ownership in your company. If you decide to sell an ownership stake in your dealership, then you'll need to have these options available to your investors as well. So always keep that in mind. A lot of really, really great resources for you. Also, if you start as a corporation, you can sell shares of your company, or if you're currently a licensed dealer as a corporation, as long as it's done in compliance with the articles of incorporation, then again, you definitely want to notify your state if you are going to be selling shares in your dealership. You can also use what's called a lender match, which I'll show you here in a minute. And these are going to be SBA guaranteed loans. So, if you ever have trouble getting a traditional business loan, like say, for example, from your local bank, then you can look into the many SBA guaranteed loans that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Okay. So, if there's a bank locally that maybe thinks your business is too risky to lend, then the SBA may guarantee your loan. And that way the bank will have a lot less risk and can be much more willing to give you a startup loan or an expansion loan. So we're going to use what's called lender match, okay? So the SBA helps dealerships get loans. And the SBA, they work with lenders to provide loans to dealerships. And so I want to explain this. The SBA doesn't lend money directly to you as a small business owner. Instead, it sets guidelines for loans that are made by local lending partners, such as your bank, and they guarantee you these loans. So the SBA reduces risk for lenders, and it actually makes it a lot easier for you to access capital in startup funds or expansion funds. And so that makes it much, much easier for a small business such as yours to get loans to either start up or expand. Now, I want to show you how to apply for funding to either start your dealership, or maybe you've been in business for a few years and you're wanting to expand your dealership. Well, the SBA has many resources for you, okay? And I'm going to go over these with you here. The SBA offers what's called a 7A loan. They have what's called cap lines, SBA Express loan. That's a great loan I want to talk about in a moment. Community Advantage loans, micro loans, and also what's known as a 504 certified development loan. First, let's talk about what is known as the 7A loan. The 7A loan. The 7A loan is the SBA's largest and most popular financing program. So if you're unable to qualify for conventional financing, say for example at your bank or credit union, and you meet the eligibility requirements, you can use a 7A loan to actually buy real estate or equipment. Maybe you need like an alignment machine for your dealership. You can actually use a 7A loan to buy startup inventory, okay? Now, this might be a resource for you. I always want you to be aware, you can go into basically any dealer auction and get a floor plan, which is a loan for your inventory. Sometimes floor plan rates are about the same as a credit card rate. So you might end up saving a little bit of money by using a 7A loan to buy your startup inventory instead of an actual floor plan. So that's a possibility that you might want to explore. A 7A loan can also be used for working capital, or even to refinance business debts or purchase an existing dealership. So maybe you're starting from scratch with your own dealer's license. Maybe you are purchasing an established dealership, or maybe you're that dealer that's growing and expanding and buying the dealership that's down the street. That's great. Growth is what I strongly encourage you to do in this business, okay? But you can use it for long-term and short-term working capital. You can use it for fixtures, supplies, materials, land and building for dealers, construction of new buildings, renovation to an existing building. So if you just want to maybe add a repair shop or something like that to your dealership, you can certainly do that. You can use them in acquiring other dealerships, so it's really great. And, maybe you currently got some business debt that you need to refinance. That is something that you certainly want to look at. And, just to give you an idea, the maximum loan amount on a 7A loan is going to be $5 million. And usually the rate is prime, and it's capped at 2.75. So if you think about this, a floor plan, I'm not positive, but a floor plan could be, it could be as high as 18% or more, where you're looking at a 2.75% loan on inventory. This is something you might want to certainly consider. A floor plan is going to be quicker. Obviously, if you go into your dealer auction and get a floor plan, you can get one on the spot that day. But, if you are going to do this, you can get a lot lower interest rate when you're using a 7A loan from the SBA. So the long term, it varies, and you can go up to 25 years for real estate, or you can even do 10 years. You don't want to do 10 years financing for inventory, but maybe you want to do a 6-month loan to get started with or something like that. So they're going to guarantee 50 to 90%. So what that means is, for some reason, I know you're not going to do this, but if you get that loan from that bank to start your dealership, then the SBA is going to guarantee up to 90% of that. So that's going to make it a lot more apt for your local lending institution to lend you some money for startup or expansion, okay? And if you are going to use this loan, like I said, it is the most popular SBA loan. There's a checklist here that you can obtain, and you'll need to submit all your personal financial information, your business information, a copy of all your business licenses, okay, if you have any local licenses and things like that. You also have to let them know about your application history, copy of your tax returns, and other persons who might appear on your dealer's license. So any property lease information would have to be submitted as well. So just keep this in mind. It's very helpful if you are expanding your dealership, purchasing a dealership, or starting out for the very first time. This is a great lending program for dealers. Remember, it's the SBA 7A lending program. Another loan program for dealers I want you to be aware of is what's called cap lines. Okay, the cap lines program for loans gives up to $5 million to help small dealerships meet their short-term working capital needs. And there are basically 4 programs under the cap lines. There's the contract loan, seasonal line of credit, the builder's line, and the working capital line of credit, okay? Now, the working capital line of credit, the contract loan can be used to finance the cost of one or more specific contracts or overhead or general administrative expenses. A contract CPAP line is up to $5 million. So that's something I don't know that you're going to be interested in or not. A seasonal cap line is something that might get you through. Let's say, for example, you're a power sport dealer and, obviously you're not selling many power sports during the winter. A seasonal cap line can help you get through the winter. So that's a seasonal support loan, okay? The next one that I think can be very helpful for any dealer is what's called the builder's line. Okay, now this is going to help you. Maybe you're building a new building, or maybe you're just building that repair facility or something like that. You can use what's called a builder's line from the Cap Lines lending program. So this is definitely something that can be very helpful for you if you are expanding your dealership. That's called the Cap Lines. Now, you can use this for labor, supplies, materials, equipment rental, direct fees like building permits. So it's really great for the expansion of a dealership. So definitely be aware of the builder's line of the cap loans, and those can be for as high as $5 million. So those are called cap lines, okay? Here's another great lending program for you. It's called the 504 loan. So, for anybody that can't get a traditional loan and a dealership that would like to purchase or renovate or even buy heavy equipment, for your small business. Maybe you need to buy that big 3/4-ton truck and a trailer to haul vehicles back and forth from a dealer auction. A 504 loan could be something that would definitely help you. And you can also use this for land or facilities that you're building. And it could be for long-term machinery purchases as well. You can also use this for, parking lots and display lots. So keep this in mind. A 504 might be a loan for you if you're just wanting to renew or redo your dealership lot, or maybe you found a location that hasn't quite met zoning requirements and you have to have a hard surface. This could help you, pave your display lot. But keep that in mind. And by the way, this is only for for-profit companies. And I'm assuming that you're probably starting this business or you have a dealer's license as a for-profit. There are some non-for-profits out there that operate dealerships, but if you're a for-profit company, then you would qualify for a 504 loan. Next, I want to talk about a great loan, which is an SBA Micro Loan. And this is another great lending resource for dealers. So the Micro program provides loans of up to $50,000 to help a dealership start up or expand, okay? And I want you to be aware, the majority of these micro loans are only $13,000. So they're a small one that you can just use for quick startup capital. Maybe you need to buy office equipment and things like that. You can use it for supplies, equipment, furniture, fixtures, so it can be anywhere from $500 up to $50,000. But like I said, the average loan is going to be $13,000. So this is, if you just need a real small, quick startup loan, this is also one of the loans that has the quickest approval. It's called an SBA Micro Loan, okay? And so that's something you might want to look at, but you will have to apply for this through your SBA approved intermediary, which is your local bank or lending institute. And I'll give you a list of those and how to find an authorized micro lender near you here in just a little bit. So this could be a bank, it could be a small lending company, but here in just a little bit, I'm going to show you how to find out who near you, what lending institute near you has benefits for you and can give you a loan that is backed by the SBA. Now, one thing about it, there are many, many benefits in obtaining an SBA guaranteed loan. For example, they have very competitive rates. Sometimes an SBA guaranteed loan has a lot lower rates than other rates. So, they generally have fees that are very lower or either compared to non-guaranteed loans. Another great thing about the SBA is they offer counseling and education. So, some of those loans like that micro loan, they actually come with contingency support where you can have a counselor that will help you start and run your new business. So, SBA loans have unique benefits. Normally, they're going to have lower down payments. They usually have some flexible overhead requirements, and no collateral is needed for most of these loans. So these are great, great resources. I know a lot of dealers aren't even aware of these lending resources, but the SBA has many, many lending programs that come with competitive terms. They offer counseling and education and definitely have unique benefits. So if you're looking to get a little bit of capital when you're getting your license for the first time, or maybe you've been a licensed for a year or two, or maybe you've been a licensed dealer for 20 years and you've been thinking about doing a little bit of expansion, definitely check out an SBA loan. They're going to be great resources for the startup of a dealership or the expansion of a dealership. Now, I want to talk about investment capital. You can also find an investment for your dealership through the small business investment companies. Okay, these are licensed by the Small Business Administration. These are called small business investment companies. Sometimes we call them an SBIC. But a small business investment company is a privately owned company that's licensed and regulated by the Small Business Administration. So small business investment companies invest in small businesses such as your dealership in the form of what's called debt and equity. So, the SBA doesn't invest directly into small businesses, but it does provide funding to qualified small business investment companies with the expertise in certain sectors or industries such as dealership operations. So these small business investors, then they use their private funds, and sometimes they'll be backed with SBA guaranteed funding to invest in small businesses such as your dealership. So this could be something that you look at whether you're starting your dealership. Maybe you've been established for several years and you would like an outside investor to help you with some of the business risk. These are great resources for you, okay? So these private investors can either invest directly in your dealership startup or in your dealership that's already operating, and then the SBA is going to match their funds. So let's just say, for example, one of these small business investment companies decides to invest $100,000 into the expansion of your dealership. Well, the SBA will match that. So there's a possibility of $200,000 in funding that you can access in a pretty concise manner, a pretty short manner. So they invest in a dealership through debt, equity, or a combination of both. And, debt is a loan, and a small business company gives to a business, which the dealership must pay back along with interest. Okay. So the equity of shared ownership by the small business investment company get equity of that business in exchange for some of the funding. So they're basically investing into your dealership, and they're also normally taking a business ownership percentage. Okay. So they'll do that through what's called equity, and that's an ownership interest in your business. So, usually it's made over about a 3-year period. So a typical SBIC investment ranges from anywhere from $100,000 to up to $10 million. And if they're lending you the money, it runs anywhere from 9% to 6%, or they might want a portion of equity in your business as well. Okay, so that's something to certainly look at. So if you're interested in finding out if someone wants to invest either in your idea to start a dealership or your expansion, you can simply go to the SBA website. I've got contact information for all these small business investment companies. You can also, as you see up there to the top right, you can download an Excel file with all the contact information for these companies that may be interested in investing. And there's just a small portion of the A's that you see right there. Here's an idea for you. You can download that file, and, you can get a direct mail company to send a postcard to, every single one of those investors. And I can almost guarantee you they're going to be reaching out to you. So there's a little bit of information for you. I hope that you find very advantageous. So another source of capital can be one of these small business investment companies that might be interested in investing money in your dealership. Here's another incredible resource for dealers that's provided by the SBA, and it's what's called the Learning Center. It's called the Learning Center. The SBA's online learning programs are designed to empower and educate small business owners, such as dealerships, every single step of the way. So whether you are looking to start your dealership or maybe you're wanting to expand your dealership, the SBA's digital learning platform has everything you need to educate yourself on entrepreneurial best practices, and it also gives you further instruction on how to gain financing. Okay, so there's several free webinars available that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Shows you how to plan your dealership, shows you how to launch. Once you've gotten your dealer's license or you currently have a license, then you can watch the Manage Your Business webinars. Marketing is a great resource for any established dealer, or once you've gotten your license and you want to know how to market to your customers, they've got great up-to-date information that shows you how to market your vehicles to the customers in your area or worldwide. It's also going to show you easily step-by-step instructions on how to grow your business. So here you see several free webinars that you can take to enhance your business knowledge. Like I said, you can plan, launch, manage, market, and growth. I've watched a couple of these webinars. They are very informational, and I thought I've known a lot about this industry. I've been training motor vehicle dealers for many years, and I recently watched a couple of these, and you'll learn something on every one of those. I don't care if you've just never owned a business or if you've been a dealer for 50 years. There's a possibility of that. Then you can watch one of these webinars, and I guarantee you they're going to be very helpful. So do please keep that in mind. Also, the SBA can help you win purchasing contracts with the federal government. Now, this may or may not be helpful for you, but they can actually help you get contracts for the United States government. And this can be a tremendous financial opportunity for small dealerships. The United States government is the largest customer in the world. I want to repeat that. The United States government is the largest customer in the world. So, the government buys all types of products and services in small quantities and large quantities, and they need vehicles, and they are required by law to consider buying from small businesses. So the majority of purchases that the federal government makes has to be purchased from small businesses, such as the one that you are either opening or the one that you're getting ready or that you have already opened, okay? Now, normally, they only purchase new vehicles, but there's nothing preventing you from acting as an intermediary between the federal government and maybe a franchisee that sells new motor vehicles and make a substantial profit. So, you could submit a bid to the franchisee, and obviously that's the dealership that sells brand new vehicles. You could submit a bid to a franchisee and act as the intermediary between the franchisee and the federal government, and you could actually talk up quite a bit of profit on top of that bid. So the government does want to buy all their vehicles from small businesses. Number one, for the reason for this, it ensures that the large businesses don't basically muscle out the small businesses. So they also gain access to new ideas that small businesses can provide. And, they support small businesses because obviously your dealership and any small business is an engine of economic development and job creation. So, the federal government wants you to take your license and create as many new jobs as you can. It also adds opportunities to disadvantaged socioeconomic groups. So the process of requesting proposals, evaluating bids, and awarding contracts should definitely take place on a level playing field. And the government is also going to consider that bid from any business, any small business, okay? So here you see a screenshot. The SBA has a lot of information on how to get started in winning federal government contracts. So they make it very easy to understand and participate in this process, okay? So do keep that in mind. And, there's some specific information that comes to this. You can contact the Office of Government Contracting and Development. And I'll give you that phone number here real quick. That's 202-505-6459. Another great thing that they do, they give you all types of business consulting services. They're going to be there to give counseling and information and unique benefits as well. So do please keep that in mind. Once again, here's that information. This is the Government Contracting and Business Development section of the SBA. And there's their address, 202-205-6459. So that's something maybe you never thought about, but that is definitely something that you might want to look into because I think you've got a dealer's license, or you're either getting a dealer's license or you currently have a dealer's license to make as much money as you possibly can. Well, here's some additional resources that can hopefully help you achieve that goal. Next, exporting. First of all, before we talk about exporting your vehicles to other countries, I know, maybe you are either starting or currently running that lot, on the corner intersection or on that highway strip, and obviously that's the foundation of our business, is serving the local customer. But I want you to also be aware the world is your market. And I've seen several trends throughout the years where a certain country has a very large need for specific vehicles, and I've seen so many of these trends over the years. A few years ago, there was a huge construction boom in Eastern Europe, and they could not get enough semi-trucks over in Eastern Europe. So, everybody was buying up all the Peterbilts and the Kenworth semi-trucks, and they were shipping them over to the Czech Republic and things like that. I also saw a trend where Mexico, for some reason, couldn't get enough 3/4 ton trucks. So everybody was buying up like the F-350 Fords and things like that, and they were shipping them to Mexico. I personally got involved with a shortage of Japanese motorcycles in Japan, personally, and I made some pretty good money doing this. What happened here several years ago, if you remember in the 1970s, they made these great big Japanese motorcycles like the KZ-1000s. These really cool 1970s bikes. They call them super bikes. Well, the Japanese government would not allow them to be driven in Japan. They were technically too big for the roads, but they made these really cool bikes. They sent every one of them out of Japan. Well, a few years ago, the Japanese government changed the law and said, well, okay, yes, you can have these great big Japanese 1970s motorcycles. So everybody and their brother from Tokyo was buying these old motorcycles that might have been sitting in your garage unused for 10 years. They were given like 10 times the original purchase price. So I know a lot of dealers, including myself, that bought up a lot of these motorcycles and actually shipped them to Japan. And here was an interesting one I saw a couple years ago. For some reason, there was a shortage of BMW cars in, of all countries, Germany, where they were made. So they wanted these Hotline BMWs back in Germany. So everybody was buying up the Hotline BMWs, and they were shipping them back to Germany, which I thought was interesting. I had a gentleman take one of my classes here a few years ago, and he was from Dubai. And he told me at that time, the social status in Dubai was to drive a Toyota Highlander, a gold Toyota Highlander. It had to be gold, okay? And I thought it was very interesting. So I checked the wholesale prices, and I found out that, gray Toyota Highlanders were going about $10,000 wholesale. Burgundy Toyota Highlanders were going for about $10,000 wholesale. And the gold Toyota Highlanders were going for about $45,000 to $50,000 wholesale. That's pretty interesting, huh? But so, you might look into exporting vehicles to other countries. Now, the benefits of exporting, nearly 96% of consumers live outside the United States. Think about this. 96% of consumers live outside of the United States. And, 2/3 of the world's purchasing power is in foreign countries. So if you're a dealership owner, you can certainly work with the Small Business Administration for your trade needs. And they have what's called the United States Export Assistance Center. Once again, that's the United States Export Assistance Center, which can help you explore the process of exporting vehicles to other countries. So, each one of these offices is staffed by professionals from the public and private organizations where experience in export assistance for small-sized businesses such as your dealership are going to be helpful for you. Okay, they also have an international trade hotline that you can call, and they provide information to help small dealerships explore opportunities in other markets. They also help you learn about U.S. trade agreements and find information on regulations and laws, and also explore programs and services for small businesses and dealerships that want to export. So, and before we move on, though, I do want you to be aware, most U.S. banks view loans for exporters as risky. So this does make it a little bit harder for you to get loans, when you're exporting, if you're doing it just to export vehicles. But with that being said, an SBA program can give the 90% guarantee on export loans. So that's something you want to be aware of as well. It's always great to work with the SBA because they can definitely help you get loans where a bank might not normally want to give you that loan, because the SBA will guarantee up to 90% of that loan. So the SBA also maintains like I said earlier, it's the International Trade Hotline. And here it is for you, okay? It's 855-722-4877, okay? Once again, that is 855-722-4877. You can drop them an email at international@sba.gov, okay? So, that is definitely some good information for you here. And the SBA's Office of International Trade can help any small business that faces, barriers in accessing international markets. The office publishes U.S. trade agreements, and they also help protect the rights of small businesses as well. So keep that in mind. The SBA also offers export lending. Like I said, sometimes lenders consider export loans fairly risky. So they do have export finance programs, and this is actually going to help you get a 90% guarantee on an export loan if that's something that you're interested in. You can also get an Export Express loan. So they can directly underwrite a loan without getting prior approval from the SBA, and they can do that within 36 hours. That's called an Export Express loan. So if you've got a customer in another country that needs 50 vehicles as soon as possible, you might want to apply for an Export Express loan. It can be approved within 36 hours. And they can be for up to $500,000, and they're only for exports. So that's a great thing. If you do have an overseas client that you're working with, maybe you've got a dealer that lives in China, a friend that lives in China, and they need an incredible amount of vehicles as soon as possible, you can certainly capitalize on that. Okay. There's also an Export Working Capital Loan, which allows small dealers to apply for loans in advance if you got a little bit more time. That's something that you want to look at. And those are up to $5 million, and they usually take about 10 business days to get the Export Working Capital Loan. And also, there's what's called the International Trade Loan, which helps small dealers enter international markets and make investments to compete with other importers. And so what these do, the International Trade Loans offer basically a combination of fixed asset loans and working capital loans. And so, literally the world is your market. And the SBA can give you great assistance when exporting to vehicles to other countries. So we'll definitely have a lot more information on exports on another portion of the program. Minority-owned dealerships. The SBA is committed to supporting the development and growth of minority-owned small businesses and entrepreneurs from underserved communities. So they're going to offer counseling and training. The United States Small Business Administration, basically, they leverage their field offices and their resource partners and their additional partnerships to help level the playing field for business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs who historically lacked access to wealth or business opportunities. So, the SBA Resource Partners works directly with independent organizations to provide high-quality counseling and training to meet the specific needs of new and existing small business owners. So these resource partners include what's called the SCORE Business Mentor. And this is small business development centers. They've got the Women's and Business Center. I'm going to try that one more time. The Women's and Business Centers and veterans as well. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But several resource partner service centers are located at historically Black colleges and universities across America. So the SBA Resource Partners provide counseling and training to business owners at all stages. Also, the SBA has what's called the Emerging Leaders Initiative. The Emerging Leaders Initiative is an intensive executive level series intended to accelerate the growth of high potential small businesses in America's underserved cities. And the program provides customized training for leadership executives with demonstrated business sustainability. So participants can create a 3-year strategic growth action plan with benchmarks and performance targets to help emerge as a self-sustaining business, creating jobs and building communities. So keep that in mind. They have federal partners. The U.S. Department of Commerce operates what's called the Minority Business Development Agency. Once again, the United States Department of Commerce operates what's called the Minority Business Development Agency, which is dedicated to the growth and global competitiveness of business entrepreneurs and enterprises that are owned and operated by African Americans, Asian Americans, Hasidic Jews, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and Pacific Islanders as well. Excuse me. They have specific funding programs as well. So the federal government does not provide grants to start the business. However, there are several funding programs to help entrepreneurs start, expand, or even recover from disaster. So you can learn more about funding options for small businesses, including those targeted at minority and underserved communities. And you can get connected with SBA approved lenders. Okay. So they offer many funding mechanisms for underserved areas. Okay. They also have what's called the 8A Business Development Program. Now, this is a little bit different than that 7A loan that I talked about just a few moments ago. The 8A Business Development Program helps socially and economically disadvantaged small businesses grow by limiting competition for certain contracts to participating businesses and allowing them solid competitors in the federal marketplace. So they can actually, if you're doing federal bids and you are from a disadvantaged group, then you actually will have an advantage in the federal contracting process. Okay, so a disadvantaged business in the 8A program can compete for set aside and sole source contracts in a program. They can get also a business opportunity specialist that will help you navigate federal contracting. So it definitely gives you an advantage if you are going to be seeking federal contracts. Helps you form joint ventures. I'll try that one more time. Helps you form joint ventures as well. So it's a great program for you. That's called the 8A program. Another program for minority-owned dealerships is called the Hub Zone program. The Hub Zone. The government limits competition for certain contracts to businesses in historically underutilized business zones. So the program aims to award at least 3% of federal contract dollars each year to Hub Zone certified companies. So that would be a dealership that's in a historically underutilized business zone. Okay. Now, here's another great resource called the Minority Business Development Agency. Once again, that's the Minority Business Development Agency. The United States Department of Commerce operates the Minority Business Development Agency, which is dedicated to the growth and global competitiveness of business enterprises which are owned by African Americans, Asian Americans, Hadistic Jews, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and Pacific Islanders as well. So the Minority Business Development Agency is going to be a great resource for you as well, and that's ran by the United States Department of Commerce. Women-owned dealerships. The SBA can be a great resource for you if you're a woman and you own a dealership or you're getting ready to start a dealership. They have what is known as the Office of Women's Business Ownership. That's sometimes referred to as the OWBO. The Office of Women's Business Ownership helps women entrepreneurs through programs that are coordinated with the Small Business Administration's district offices. Programs include business training, counseling, federal contracts, and access to credit and capital as well. And they oversee what's called the Women's Business Centers, and these centers seek to level the playing field for all women entrepreneurs who might still face unique obstacles in the business world. Businesses receiving assistance from women's business centers see a significantly better success rate than those without that similar support. They also have funding for women-owned small businesses. And once again, that's that 8A Business Development Program, which helps small disadvantaged businesses compete in the marketplace. So check with the Women's Business Centers and local assistance resources. They also have a specific lender match tool for finding capital for women-owned small businesses, so they can take advantage of that program. They also have that same contracting program that helps women gain federal contracts as well. So that's something to be aware of. Other resources for women-owned businesses would be the National Women's Business Council. The National Women's Business Council is a nonpartisan federal advisory council that serves as an independent source of advice and counsel to the president, to the Congress, and to the Small Business Administration. So the council is the government's only independent voice for women entrepreneurs, and they tackle important and relevant economic issues. And here you see on the SBA website a direct link to several organizations that offer assistance to any woman-owned business. You have the Association for Enterprise Opportunity, the Association of Women's Business Centers, which we talked about, the National Association of Women in Construction, the National Association of Women in Real Estate Businesses, the National Association of Women's Business Owners, They also have the United States Women's Chamber of Commerce, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, the Women's Impacting Public Council, which is the WIPP, and Women's President Organization as well. Another resource is for veteran-owned dealerships, okay? The Office of Veterans Business Development, which is referred to as the OVBD. I know many veterans have either started a dealership. There are many dealerships that are owned by veterans. And the Office of Veterans Business Development is exclusively used to promote veteran entrepreneurship, okay? And they have additional SBA programs for either veterans, service-disabled veterans, reservists, active duty service members, transitioning service members, and your dependents and survivors, okay? So these SBA programs give access to capital. They can connect veteran small business owners with federal procurement and commercial supply chains as well. So, the Veterans Business Outreach Center is also a great initiative that helps veterans. And, I'm going to show you how to find all these resources here in just a little bit. But, they've got veterans funding. They've got minority-owned business funding, women business funding. Also, for military reservists, they have what's called the Military Reservist Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So if let's say, for example, you're called to active duty in the reserves or the National Guard, this will actually help support your income. If you own, say, for example, a dealership and you get called into service, you're obviously going to lose some money because you're not operating your dealership. Well, these can actually help you make up some of those funds as well. They got the Boots to Business program, which is a great entrepreneurial program for this offered on military installations around the world, so that's something they can help you with. They've also got a specific women's veteran entrepreneurship training program for women veterans, women service members, or even women spouses of service members can definitely apply for those programs as well. They have the Veteran Federal Procurement Entrepreneurship program, so they've got training programs for veterans. So the United States government, I think, does a really good job in helping veterans open small businesses. Okay, so that's something I want you to be aware of. So finally, as we're ending this unit, I want to show you how easy it is to contact your local SBA office. So, not only does the SBA have a very large presence in Washington, D.C., but as I said earlier, they have many, many local offices that can assist you. So you can jump onto the SBA website, but you can also go into a local office and they can help you find local lenders they're familiar with and also state programs, and they can assist you with loan applications. They can go in depth, and counsel you on exporting. Just about everything that can be found on an SBA website can also be utilized at your local SBA office. So, how do you find your local SBA office? Well, easily. You can go to the SBA website. That's SBA.gov, and once you can first type in your you can type in your zip code there, and it's going to show you your closest SBA office. So just type in your zip code there, or you can easily download a PDF of all your local SBA offices. So like this one here, you see on this portion of the PDF, you have the Alabama through Florida local SBA offices with all of their contact information. Next, you're going to see Georgia through Mississippi, all the SBA offices in those states with contact information and direct phone numbers and their direct websites. Then you'll see Missouri through Puerto Rico. And then finally, on the last page of that PDF, you're going to see Rhode Island through Wyoming. So just as a final quick reminder, I know this is a long unit here, but I think this is really a very advantageous unit for any person that's either starting a dealership or if you've been in business for many years. Remember, the SBA can assist you with business guides. They have multiple funding programs. They can help you gain federal contracts. Remember, they have that learning center with all types of learning programs and free webinars you can take. And remember, they always have local assistance available as well. So do please keep that in mind. The Small Business Administration is a very valuable resource for you, whether you are starting a dealership for the first time, maybe you've owned a dealership for a couple of years, maybe you've owned a dealership for 20 or 30 years. The Small Business Administration programs can benefit any dealership regardless of size or ownership experience. So do always please keep that in mind. And once again, that's SBA.gov. You can call the SBA at any time, 800-827 5722. And they have an email for you, answerdesk@sba.gov. Once again, that's answerdesk@sba.gov. I hope you found this information in this unit very advantageous.